to lend my voice to the fight that we are having today. I am the National Campaign Coordinator for the Abolish Slavery National Network, and I'm also the Acting Director for the Chazidy Abolitionist Center. And I'm here to tell you just basically what Jamila just said. In 2022, slavery is legal in the state of Alabama. Not only is it legal, it's in practice in the state of Alabama. In 1865, when the 13th Amendment was ratified, there was a loophole in that amendment, which had been copied by Alabama and many other states. Actually, Alabama did it before the 13th Amendment, 1861, I believe, that they brought this loophole in, where it allowed them to exploit prison labor through convict lease schemes. And along with black codes, Jim Crow laws, pig laws, they would criminalize black life. And whenever they needed laborers, they wouldn't ask the employment company to supply labor. They would ask the sheriff to go out there and get them some people to work. And they would often work them to death in convict lease systems. Convict leasing went on in this country all the way up to 1928. And the only reason that they allegedly abolished it was because of Alabama. In 1928, there was a cave-in that killed I believe it was 145 or so black men, women, and children who were working in these mines for free. And they died in this cave-in. And the world was up in arms about what America was doing with convict leasing. So allegedly, and I use that word on purpose, that was when they abolished it. But we know that didn't happen because convict leasing is still being practiced today across the country. We got people working in California, from where Jamila comes from, where there's like 34 prisons that have 70 factories built right inside the prisons. They're making eyeglasses, they're providing goods and service on the open international market. Companies like Starbucks are exploiting prison labor, where, on a holiday when you get to Starbucks and it's got the gift package, those are put together by inmates. And even though Starbucks, from what I understand, pays minimum wage for those services, the inmates never see that because they're being exploited. All that money's being taken from them in fines and fees, just as well as they're taking the money from the family members through exploitation, through phone calls, through cost for visits for commissary and all of this stuff. So there were 25 states in this country that adopted this exception clause in their state constitution to allow them to exploit prison labor and even warehousing bodies. As of now, we have abolished slavery from the constitution of 3 states already: Utah, Nebraska, and Colorado. For the first time in those states' history, slavery is not constitutionally ratified and legal. We also have 5 states on the ballot this year, as Jamila has pointed out, and all the news has been talking about. The states are Louisiana, Alabama, Vermont, Tennessee, and Oregon. And it looks like most of those states are gonna win, but we got 2 problem children. One of them is right here. The other is Louisiana. And I say problem children is because there's some confusion on the ballot. This amendment to end slavery in the state of Alabama does not have a number. So we can't tell you to go yes on 7. What you have to do is vote to ratify the 2022 Constitution. And on the ballot measure, I don't think it explains that by doing that, you are literally abolishing slavery in Alabama for the first time in the state's history. So you have to vote to ratify the 2022 Constitution. You also have to scroll down a little further in that area and then vote yes on 10 in order to make sure that your vote counts towards getting this accomplished. Now, Alabama stands out as well as a problem child because of the pure ignorance and apathy by the state and the federal government during times when there are crimes against humanity happening right here in this state. The Department of Justice has investigated multiple times and declared that there are 8th Amendment violations, 14th Amendment violations, torture is happening here, exploitation through wages and labor is happening here, and yet nothing has been done about it. As a matter of fact, they've taken it as an opportunity through Kay Ivey and the governor that came before her to make more money on your back and on your blood. They took, Kay Ivey has taken $400 million from the COVID relief funds in order to help buy new prisons, which they want to spend $2 billion on. In Alabama, prisons are an economic development program. That's what they are. They create jobs, and they create revenue, they create money through all of the things that they're involved in that keeps this state going. I doubt if the state could even exist without their prisons here. So you have the first opportunity in the history of Alabama to do something not even our ancestors were able to achieve, to end slavery for the first time. Now what happens after that? That is something that we're gonna have to find out, because we've never seen it before. We don't have any model. There has been no time in the United States when slavery was not legal. So we feel at the Abolish Slavery National Network that ending slavery is a priority that we must achieve in order to open a door that has never been opened before, and to see what is on the other side of that door, where when those who have been exploited go to court and they say, I want to challenge these slave-like conditions, these badges and incidents of slavery. You're working me for free. You're treating me like an animal. And we want to hear what it sounds like when the court is not able to say in section 32 of the Alabama Constitution, it says that no form of slavery shall exist in the state, and there should be no involuntary servitude otherwise than for the punishment of a crime of which the party has been duly convicted. We want to see what it sounds like when they don't have that protection for slavery and a challenge against badges and incidents of slavery. I'm going to close with this. Remember, this is maybe the only chance we ever get to do this. We need all hands on deck. It's only 4 days away. You got to vote to ratify the 2022 Constitution. You got to scroll down a little bit further and then click yes on 10. And show as much support as you can for your sister states who are going through the same thing right now, especially Louisiana, where the media, politicians have all decided to gather together to oppose ending slavery, literally lying about what is going to happen. I was told by one politician, Max, if we do this thing, you know what's going to happen? You're going to see judges sentence people to slavery. And I said to him, do you not know where you're at? It's Louisiana, and slavery is legal right now. Everybody that goes through your courts on a felony is sentenced to hard labor. What do you call that? So if you think that you are going to scare us out of ending slavery in Louisiana by threatening us with the very thing that's already happening, you are very wrong. Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, these southern states are going to show you how it's done. Am I right?
That's right.
That's right. We need help fiscally with this effort because it's an ongoing fight. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So if you're able to, please go to abolishslavery.us and make a donation and volunteer your time. Spread the word, learn as much as you can, and teach others. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good on.
Thank you for that, Max.
Thank you.
And so I want to kind of piggyback off something that Max said. Here in Alabama, Kay Ivey, the governor, is up for re-election. Kay Ivey is running under the platform of Keep Alabama Working. She is touting about the 65,000 jobs that she has created. However, I want to say this. Kay Ivey, you are in fact a slaveholder. Kay Ivey, you in fact engage in sharecropping. You, Kay Ivey, are a representation of white supremacy here in Alabama. To keep Alabama working, let's look inside of the Alabama Department of Corrections. where the men and women are living in inhumane conditions. The United States of America is in direct violation of United Nations laws. We, in fact, have legalized slavery, not just here in Alabama, but throughout this entire country. Slavery nor involuntary servitude shall be permitted except as punishment for a crime. As we know, the majority of the people that are inside of our carceral system are black, brown, and impoverished white Americans. Alabama does not have a criminal justice issue. Alabama has a humanitarian crisis on its hands. And Alabama is an example of the rest of the nation. One of the largest consumers of slave labor in the state of Alabama is Regents Bank. Regents Bank also helps finance the building of prisons. Kay Ivey, how far in bed are you with Regents? How much are you benefiting from the slave labor that is occurring here in your state? I'm going to pivot. I would like to introduce Chazidy Bowman. Chazidy, there's really no words for Chazidy. I'm going to let her introduce herself. Chazidy?
Tall people in the room. Hello everyone, my name is Chazidy Bowman. I am a mother. I am a wife of someone who was formerly incarcerated. And I am a freedom fighter. My journey began in 2016 when I met my husband, who was doing a year and a half already into a 9.5-year sentence in Ohio's prison. I had never been exposed to incarceration at the capacity that I have been for the last 7.5 years. But the things that I was exposed to, I knew that I couldn't be silent. I couldn't not say anything about what I saw. I come from 7 generations of coal miners in the hills of West Virginia. It's in my blood to fight. And so I began to speak out about what I saw, and then COVID hit. And I was extremely disturbed on how our incarcerated loved ones, not just in Ohio, but across the state, were being treated inside of our prisons. They were dying. They weren't just sick, they were dying. America was lying about how many were dying, and we still don't know the body count. And so in Ohio, we fought to make sure that health care was accessible to everybody. We made sure that people were being treated like humans, and then we discovered what we are seeing here in Alabama, the excessive use of force from correctional officers, the drug game being enforced inside of our facilities through correctional officers and staff, the inhumane treatment. And so for 2 years we fought to get body cameras in our prison system, and we're doing. But I'm here today not just to talk about what happened in Ohio, and I actually wrote something this time instead of going rogue so I can stay on course. So just let me read what I wrote. I stand here before you this morning honored to be in the company with history makers, change agents, pioneers of freedom. And I'm even more honored to be here in Montgomery, Alabama, treading the same grounds as Dr. King, Rosa Parks, and many more, who paved the way so I could stand before you today. I am here to speak to you about a national health crisis called mass incarceration. Can I hold this up because I don't want to put it down? Called mass incarceration, that to this day holds up the ability in this country to enslave black, brown, and poor white people. It is quite disturbing that African American people make up 12% of our free population, as they say, However, we also make up 46% of the incarcerated population, and that racist practices of convict labor and peonage of 1867, where police forces and imprisonment began, is still prevalent in 2022. That our Constitution states that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, wherefore the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction, which means that over 154 years, 10 months and 4 days, our police forces and incarceration systems have been operating in legalized slavery. Which means we are still and are not in fact free. If we aren't physically incarcerated, we are affected by it and are captured by the indirect effects of inhumane, traumatic, and mind-altering effects of incarceration in America. And it has our people in hold. In 2023, we will be pressuring all prison entities to remove rehabilitation and corrections from their name, or we will hold them immediately accountable for actually rehabilitating and correcting our people. Right now, this is not the culture or practice of this entity. Right now, America is in direct violation of United Nations Articles 3, 4, 5, and 8. We are committing genocide and have a humanitarian crisis on our hands. So I say to you, President Biden, and our melanated Vice President, Ms. Harris, when will you acknowledge this humanitarian crisis on America's soil and recognize that the same reasons you condemn Russia for acts against Ukraine, this country commits these same acts against 2.3 million people and their families every day. Men and women are returning home with PICS, or post-incarceration syndrome, a disorder that must be recognized by the ADA effective immediately.
Yes.
The research is there. I know because I champion behind the research with our medical partners. Not only that I watch my husband suffer from it on a daily basis, after serving almost a decade in Ohio prisons, his brain has been rewired due to the lack of stimulation, human interaction, human touch, and extreme trauma from being cold in the winter, extreme temperatures in the summer, death every day, and developing animalistic behavior to survive. This isn't just my husband's issue, an Ohio issue, and an Alabama issue, but a humanitarian crisis, again, I will state, in America's prisons. We have come here to serve notice on America. We have come here to serve notice on our president and anyone in the government that we will no longer stand for this, that we are going to unify and we are going to come together as one body, as one voice, as one sound, and stop this humanitarian crisis. My name is Chazidy Bowman. I am the president and founder of Opportunities People's Justice Leaders. I am a freedom fighter, and you can find us on www.opjl.us. Thank you.
Yes.
Right on.
So I now want to introduce Bianca Austin.
Right on. Right on.
Peace and love, everybody, this morning. It's an honor
Love,
to be
sis.
here, and thanks for having me. Just coming in the building to give me chills, just to educate myself and just experience the tragedy of decades of abuse and racism and slavery. It's just heartbreaking that we'll still experience it in 2022. I am Bianca Austin. My niece, she was Breonna Taylor. She was killed March 13th by Louisville Metro Police Department in Louisville, Kentucky. She was killed in her own home. She was shot 6 times and died in her hallway from just abuse of power. Just pure corruption is what it is. It just, after losing her, it just opened up a whole door in my outlook on life. It's a different experience that you don't want to ever have to experience. So today, I am standing here today as testimony for the people that's out here watching. Since Breonna, I've chose to
get more involved in the community, just advocating for her. I just have a passion, for people. I've always thought it was in healthcare. I like to take care of people, I like to help people. But after that, it just opened up my eyes to a whole new world. Police corruption is real. I grew up, I watched my father, my brothers, my uncles, go in and out of jail, just through petty crimes. I watched other family members and members go through, mass incarceration for their families, taking our black men out of the home. It's just been going on for decades and decades. And then now I'm experiencing a different side of police brutality where they see me as a threat for standing up for what's right. I'm 41 years old and I've never been in jail a day of my life until I was arrested this year, July 6th, I believe, in Akron, Ohio. I was tracked down like an animal on the street for standing up and advocating for Jamila Walker's family, who was shot at over 96 times in Akron, Ohio. They tried to threaten us and silence us and lock us down. And I'm here today to tell you it's an experience that you don't ever want to experience. I was jailed over 24 hours, so I just can't imagine even have to experience that longer than a day. It just brought back just so many bad memories and feelings. It just, we have to make a change. It's just not right. Even today, as we stand in solidarity with other families, like Tanisha Chappelle, who was killed in prison in Indiana, a young female. It takes you back to Sandra Bland. Just to name a two, like, we really have to come together and unify. And the only way we can do this is through our community, through each other. We don't get out here and be in the streets and just speak it. We get out here and use ourselves as an example of unity. And during that, we've created our own foundation, Families United. It's impacted families who travel around the country supporting these families who've gone through the same tragedy as us. Because there's no rule book to tell you how to fight the police, to tell you how to stand up to the mayor, the governor, to show you how to fight against the racist, corrupt system. And it's not just in Louisville, Kentucky. We experience it all over the world. We have traveled all over the world. Each city and state is the same thing. We're in the same book, different chapters, y'all. We don't need to reform, we need to dismantle the system. This system needs to be broke down completely and rebuilt up. We can't reform something that was never meant for us in the first place. We can't do it. We have to dismantle, we have to demand it, and we can do it together. Find something you're passionate about in your community, whether it's police brutality, whether it's mental health, whether it's homelessness. All these things play an important role in change. In change. Don't experience what it feels like to be dehumanized, because it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. These people that serve in prison sentences is somebody's uncle, father, brother. They are loved. And they go to prison and get treated like dirt. It's not right. And I'm not saying if you don't commit the crime, you don't do the time. But let's be transparent. Let's make it equal. Let's make sure the time matches the crime.
Amen.
You know, like, and the only way we're gonna do that if we all come together. And I just appreciate you for having me. I just want to know, Alabama, we stand with you. We are sick of the slave-like mentality, the slave-like practices and protocols. It's 2022. We just want to build a new road so our kids can be free of this. free of this. We've been fighting for decades. We tired. We don't wanna fight anymore. We tired of fighting. We come for a resolution. We need resolution. We need answers, we need transparency, and we need real change in our communities for us to move forward. Let our kids live. Keep y'all hand off our kids. We depend on the local police departments to serve and protect, not kill our kids because you're threatened by the color of your skin. Because you're threatened of the family, because you have a vendetta out against them. It has to stop, and it will stop. It will stop. There will be change. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, sis.
And we're gonna get there together.
Right on. Right on, sis. Just 300 just for them all. Right on.
Just for them all, free them
Right
all.
on. Free them all. Just for them all. Right on.
Thank you so much, Bianca. And so, next I wanna call our brother, Fred Hampton Jr. The chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Respect.
Right on, power to the people.
All power to the people.
Well, first and foremost, I'm honored and humbled to be here. I'm international chairman of the Black Panther Party Cubs. That's the organization, we say it's a tough act to follow. We attempt to not walk in the footsteps, but the Panther Paul steps of the Black Panther Party, was founded October 15, 1966. Minister UEP with the chairman, Barbara Seal. So I'm a Panther Cub by birth and by battle. I'm also biological as well as just a political child, political offspring of Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton, who was the deputy chairman for the state of Illinois, the Black Panther Party, which is the largest chapter of the Black Panther Party, and also of McCool and Jerry, formerly known as Deborah Johnson. Chairman Fred was assassinated, he didn't pass away. He was assassinated by the federal government December 4th, 1969, along with Defense Captain Mark Clark, on the west side of Chicago, as an ongoing part of infamous COINTEL program, the counterintelligence program. Prior to Chairman Fred being assassinated, he himself was a political prisoner. And he was held captive in the infamous State Bill, which we refer to as Death Bill to this day, and later transferred to the infamous Menard, where there were a number of attempts to have him assassinated while he was held captive. I'm saying this to put the question, political prisoners in the correct context of an ongoing war on African people and colonized people in general. Because a lot of us have been misinformed, believe that prisons serve to rehabilitate, but the purpose of prisons is to break the will and spirit of men, women, children alike, our movements and our people in general. A lot of people here I've unfortunately come in contact with through some horrible situations. The Jacob Blake family, Cortez rights, Bianca, and also one of the knowledge who I'm seeing on the battlefield, resulted in a response to her then husband, Nicholas Lee, in Memphis Cook County Jail, and that's Cassandra Grish. She's here also. Cook County Jail is the largest county jail in the country. And due to the We Don't Care healthcare, let me put this in great context. Minister UEP News said that prisons are microcosm outside community. And that's to say that what's happening, we see what's happening in the general community with the healthcare, We Don't Care healthcare, with the police are murdering us plainly. So we can only imagine, they cannot imagine, what's going on behind those walls. And Cook County Jail was defined as a hot spot. First discussion about the coronavirus, we refer to the pandemic. And there was documented continuous calls to call the infamous Sheriff Tom Dart, like Cassandra Greer, and others that bring attention to this. And subsequently, Nicholas Lee, quote unquote, died. And when I say quote unquote, the state took him out. And we want to be in solidarity the deal is, one of the tactics of the system is to keep us caught in subjectivity. In other words, keep it isolated to a situation in Chicago, Ohio, Detroit, Alabama, so on and so forth. Tupac Shakur said, "Holly, forgive me." We heard the prisoners in Alabama are literally hollering, and many of those, unfortunately, cannot holler. We gonna let the record reflect that we hear them loud and clear. We said we got these back like a backpack and each other with bulletproof vests. And the spirit of internationalism, you know what I'm saying, again, we respect no colonial borders, we cannot afford the luxury to set trip. In other words, to say, well, this is a situation happening in Alabama, we gotta connect this up with the condition of the state bill, connect this up with the condition of the infamous Cook County Jail. But right now, here today, we wanna seize the time with the energy that's here in Alabama. And, I say foreign territories versus enemy territory. I just got here, and literally when I was walking in, my brother pulled up on me, recognized me. He just told me, literally, he said, "I know you are chairman," he said, "Be careful down here." And I know, you know, the stereotypes that come with the South, and like we say the South, old action goes, the South will rise again. We say, when did it fall? We clear the blatant, you know, saying racism, racism not in a sense of just worry about how some people don't like us, but the policies that impact people's life and death. That's what we're talking about. Politics is food over and shelter, basically. And you know what I'm saying, again, we gotta heighten these contradictions. These brutal terms for brutal realities, what's happening here. There's no war on drugs, there's no war on guns, there's no war on gangs. There's war on the people. And Minister, we people who say that we do not fight back, we do not organize, we be fight, there's nothing less than reactionary suicide. My niche, one of my genres, you know what I'm saying, is on the ground organizing. You know what I'm saying? We take any phenomenon, whether it be hip hop, whether it be conversation in the barbershop or the beauty parlor, makes it everyday conversation. You know what I'm saying? Talented, what's happening inside these concentration camps? A lot of people may have an issue with us even using that term, calling them concentration camps. When I speak about it, it's not from a book or a TV show I've seen, but from the brutal realities I was unfortunate to see. And I feel fortunate to come out with my sanity and my life intact and have responsibility. The spirit of Harriet Tubman to reach back for those who are still held captive. And we gotta use the brutal terms for brutal realities as opposed to using euphemisms, like saying someone was locked up. They were kidnapped, as opposed to saying, you know, saying someone has a bond. Or what's their ransom? And not just relegating this to when Black History Month comes around or election time. We say everything is political. Words, terms, you know, so you have to be consistent with this here. Again, consistent with the terms. These are concentration camps, you know what I'm saying? You have to be consistent with terms. Person has a bond or a ransom. They were not locked, they were kidnapped. And be consistent with this and what's happening. And we know that the state has is phenomenal with their propaganda by saying, you know, that people are treated humanely inside these places. It's embarrassing being oppressed. It's embarrassing being oppressed. But we have to be upfront about this. Similar to like in Abu Ghraib, Baghdad, when the conditions were shown to the world, when how prisoners were being treated in Abu Ghraib, Baghdad, many prisoners said they didn't speak about it because they were embarrassed to talk about it. And also they tried to record the filing grievances also with no record. But we clear and we do understand what's happening there and we relate to it. We don't hide the contradiction in the world. No. Right on?
Right on.
Right on.
Powerful people say, what's our mantra? Free them all.
Free them all.
Give us just a minute, Jamila will be right back up here with us. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys, but, I just wanna say this. I appreciate, once again, everyone coming out and all the power that is in this room uniting together to try to stand and make a change for, Alabama and the United States of America. So, without further ado, I'm going to, bring up my counterpart, and I'll say my little sister that has been working closely with me, Christina McGee, guys.
And that's all. Can everybody hear me?
What?
As Diane stated, guys, hearing y'all stories, it's heartbreaking. I am extremely new to this world, and seeing this side of things humbles somebody. Knowing what I know now versus the way I have grown up here in the state of Alabama, this backward state is going nowhere with the government that we have right now. It's never going to change. And it's going to take more people like all of us coming together to get the change done. My husband is incarcerated. I went directly to KIV with a problem. My husband was stabbed. She literally handed him to the head of ADFC. She wrote me a letter stating that he's their problem, not hers. She doesn't care about the state. And coming from someone who has been raised Republican my entire life, it is very different to look at other possibilities. Not being open-minded because I was raised that way. Until you've been forced to be a part of this world, you will never understand it. I chose this side of the world, and I'm very thankful that I did, because it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I have the power to change. That I'm going to stand here and say enough is enough. And as I always say at our rallies, and thanks to Diane, when I reached out when my husband got stabbed, she saved everything about me. Diane is this. To break every chain rallies we're doing. And we're not going to stop doing these rallies until changes are made. We're going to continue to have public outreach from everywhere. We're not giving up. When they go hard, we will continue to go harder. We will not back down.
Right on.
It doesn't matter. Alabama Sentencing Commission needs to be redone in every way possible. The legislators need to see these people that they affect. If it doesn't, if it's not on your front doorstep, you don't think it affects you, but it does. Because it affects your neighbors, it affects your friends, and anything can happen to you in the blink of an eye, and you can be where these men and women are. It's not supposed to be a luxury spa, and we're aware of that, but until you know someone or talk to someone behind those walls, you have no idea that they are true prisoners of war. You see all these from TVs. This isn't a TV show. This is real life. You see these TV shows where these third world countries have our men and women held in these caves, and they're beaten, they're starved, they have no running water, they have nothing. That's what Alabama prison systems are like. It is not meant for them to be tortured like that. Especially if some of them didn't even have the crime committed to begin with.
Come on.
There are more innocent people, and everybody always says, you know, well, of course they're innocent. They truly are. There's a lot that can happen to anybody, anytime, day or night. And if your child, what is a mother? If your child made one mistake, no victim, he chose to do something stupid on his part, he goes to jail, 1 to 3 years. Never hurt a person in his life. He gets beaten by the guards. He gets beaten, he gets killed. You get a phone call a week later, maybe. If you're lucky, you get it a week later. You're not notified immediately because they consider them property of the state. They're no longer yours. As a mother, that is my son and will always be my son. You love your children unconditionally. So when someone takes their life because they're just in a place, they're the weaker person to them, you take advantage of that life. Can you be that mother and see that? Do you want that phone call? Because as a mother, you try to teach your children the right way to do things and live their life. But as they get older, they can make choices of their own. But what if they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time? What if they're with someone who commits a crime and that person gets killed? Guess who's left standing there? Guess who has to pay the penalty for that? That person right there has just lost their entire life. But Alabama sentencing is never the same across the board. Nobody. And it is a lot of racial bias involved with that. I am a paralegal fixing to go to law school. so I can hopefully become part of a better change for the state of Alabama. But I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna start crying, because Sandy Ray is fixing to come up here. This is a mother who lost her child to ADOC.
Hi, can y'all hear me? My name is Sandy Ray, and most of y'all here in Alabama know me. I've been running around with the rallies since 2019. My son was at Donaldson Correctional Facility. October the 4th, I got a call from the warden telling me that my son was en route. He was at UAB. He was at UAB, and that he was on life support. I needed to get there. As you see, I'm on oxygen. I was on oxygen then. So I run out of the house and I get there. And I'm like, this is just kind of like a horror story. I want to show you the power that the state of Alabama has. Okay? I get there. Once we get there, they tell me that we can come in. My family can come in with me and see Steve. When the videos, you can look up Sandy Ray and you can see the picture of what they've done to my son. They stomped and moved him. He was unrecognizable when I got there. They had broke every bone in his head, every bone. They said the only reason that he wasn't dead at that time was because he had so many lumps and holes and stuff in his head that it took longer for the blood to fill up for him to pass away. I mean, he was beyond recognition. And at this point in time, I'm blind. I ran out. I didn't have this handy little thing then. I had the big old oxygen test. I ran out with no oxygen. We get there, and like I said, I get there, and I'm met by guard, and he's kind of nice, and he tells me we can go in and we can visit with my son. And like I said, when I went around at the bed and seen what my son looked like, I was just, I couldn't believe that he wasn't my son. That wasn't my son but in there, y'all. And nobody would tell me nothing. And I finally learned from the nurses that the warden, this warden from the state of Alabama, was the one calling the shots. She's the one that told them. We had to wait. They had told me in the middle of the night that we're gonna have to take him off, that he was brain dead. And the warden actually, we had to wait and find her before they took my son off life support. She had to say it was okay. That's the power that they have here in the state of Alabama. And Governor Ivey leads this state. And Steve Marshall, they told me in March, my son, they said like it was a Florida law, the law where stand your own ground. My son murder was justified by the stand your own ground law here in the state, in the prison, y'all. They said, stand your own ground. They felt for their lives. Six of them stood and watched as one that was military trained, and they stomped my son to death. And they said, it's okay. We're not pressing charges. All these officers went on. They fired one for drugs, but the one that primary done it, he got promoted. This man has 5 other lawsuits against him for the same kinds of mistreatment. But yet he's promoted 6 times. He's hurt someone. But they don't care. I didn't know what the prison was until my son went in. And I didn't know about groups. My son was totally, he wouldn't tell me nothing. I didn't know he was in the conditions that we're talking about today. I did not know my son was actually living in them conditions, because he didn't want me to worry. He didn't want mama to get excited and not be able to breathe. He didn't want to contribute to, because stress is a factor in my condition. And, so until I got with this groups, Pastor Glasgow and Tops introduced me, and I met different ones, and I found out what was going on in the prisons. And it explained, still didn't explain to me how they could do what they done to Stevie. His name was Stephen Davis, is his name. He was 35, it'll be 3 years. It was 3 years, October the 5th, that he died. Y'all, they wouldn't even, when he died, they must have found out the next morning that it was guard related, because I had been in on there, and I is a joke. That's Alabama Department of Corrections. That's a joke. They do not defend the people of Alabama. Steve Marshall doesn't defend the people of Alabama. They took my case out of Bessemer and gave it to Steve Marshall, because nobody wanted to tell me. Nobody wanted to press charges. And he finally, told me they're not going to. But I'm not giving up. Even though they're not going to, maybe someday they will, I'm not gonna stop talking. I'm not gonna stop letting people know that this is happening. And it's not to black, white, it's happening to all of them. I talk to people every day that's on the inside. And they're hurting, they really are hurting. And that's the reason I keep speaking. I can sit at home and cry, but I can't. Not as long as these people are still hurting. I have no one left in the system. And I don't know that I'll ever get justice. But I'm still gonna fight the fight with y'all, because I lost something very important. I lost my baby. I lost, and they didn't care. That next morning, they wouldn't even let his daddy in. When he died, and when the guards came in that morning, they must have realized what the story was, and they run my whole family out. Made me stand there while they took my son off life support, with the nurses hugging me and holding on to me, because I couldn't have the support of my family. They were so scared we would bring a camera in. Well, guess what? I did. And I took them pictures. And I took them. And I've got pictures of his body that night. We took pictures. I knew then, my son, when I found out he'd been beat, I didn't know it was a corrections officer. I thought it was other prisoners. Never in my mind when I thought it was them. And I got a call from the prison. And this man said, "Miss Ray, get a lawyer. Your son was murdered." That's the night that we brought him home. The same day he died. Murdered. I didn't know what was going on, and things just kept falling out every day, until I realized they killed my baby. And they justified it with a statute ground. They felt that they would kill them if they didn't kill him. That's what they felt. I don't find myself to be an activist. I'm a mother that's hurt. And I will speak, and I will go, and I will do whatever it takes to make it right, to help, to push this all forward in better conditions, to get Ivy out of office, get Steve Marshall out of office, get different ones out of office. She's the boss. She's the boss of Alabama. She's the boss of the correction center. She will not speak to me. I've had so many run from me. My son's case was mentioned in the Department of Justice report they filed. But yet they feel they didn't have to. Come on, they mentioned the cruelty and everything in the report of the Department of Justice, but they felt they didn't have to press charges. They are beside themselves here. They are just in a world of their own here. And And I gotta tell you, Alabama's the most racist state that I've ever been in my life. I was born in Indiana, and if anybody has any inclination of what Indiana is, you would laugh if you know why I'm standing. Max probably knows Indiana's KKK country, honey. They the ones that raised up KKK. It started there. And I came to Alabama 30 years ago, and I was in awe. And the more I learned every day, and the more in the last 5-6 years I've learned, oh my gosh. This is where Martin Luther King was. Praise God. What is going on? Why are they so prejudiced here? And it's true. It's true, y'all. It's the saddest situation I've ever seen and that I've ever known. They told me my kids had to go to private schools when I first come here 30 years ago. What for? I said, I can't go to school class. What? I moved from Birmingham. Come on. It was just like, y'all crazy, you know? Y'all just crazy. But until they took my son, I never cared. It wasn't I didn't care, I just never spoke up or know what kind of cause I would want to speak up about. When they took Stevie, they created a monster in me, is what they've done. And I will continue to show his picture, and I will continue as long as everybody will have me. I'm going to the Department of Justice somehow or another. I'm going there, and I'm going to speak to someone. It's just a matter of time and money, and I'll be there. And I think I feel honored to be in the room like Bianca and I feel so honored. I mean, we hear about you on the news, see you on the news. It's just really popular to me, you know? And Max, I finally put a face with Max, you know, and the different people that I'm putting faces with, and I am so excited. And I met Dee, and I met Christine. They have been awesome. I thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me and listening to my story.
Right
I'm
on.
gonna take up no other time. It's just a story, and it's not even a story.
Coming
It's
you
not-
know.
Legacy. You have a legacy now.
And I'm gonna continue because I know a lot of families will not tell what they've done for their children. Especially white families, y'all gotta just put it out there. I'm just gonna put it out there, they will not tell. They don't want the embarrassment. I'm not embarrassed. I'm ashamed of the state of Alabama.
That's right.
I'm not embarrassed, he done wrong, yes, but he didn't deserve to be stopped.
Absolutely.
You know, have boot prints on his head, face, on his body. He didn't deserve none of that.
That ain't right.
But I thank y'all for having me, I'm honored. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Stay strong.
So I just wanna take a pause for a moment, because there's a lot of heaviness in this room. And, I want to thank you, Jamila, for speaking your truth. I wanna thank everyone who is here. We are at a pivotal time in history. And the collection of amazing souls that are in this room is a reflection of what we could do if we came together collectively. You see, hatred and violence knows no boundaries. This is not a black issue. This is not a white issue. This is a human issue. We are all human beings that are being impacted and affected by systemic racism and hatred. Let's be very clear that racism in this country is a socially constructed, psychologically indoctrinated mental health disease. It not only affects those whom it seeks to target, but it also affects those who perpetrate it. We have the ability and the power to come together and say, we're not gonna have any more. In this room, we have South Carolina, New Mexico, Ohio, Alabama, Chicago, Minnesota, Louisiana, Texas, I mean, like California. We have come from everywhere because this is what it takes. This is a Herculean effort, and it takes all of us. We have come together because of the trauma, but we will not bind in trauma. We will bind in healing. We will bind in change. And one by one, we will continue to grab a hold of the other and walk forward. We are our ancestors' dream. We sit here today in a historic building. In a little bit, when we're done with the speakers, we're going to play a film for you all. I will warn you that for some of you it may be triggering, so please feel free to leave the room. But this is a collection of the history of us as a people. Alabama. I want the voters of Alabama to hear me and hear me clear. You have the opportunity to make history in your state. Do not allow the powers that be to continue to use the tactics that we know they use, such as language on a ballot that the everyday citizen cannot understand. It is a tactic. We have to become more civically engaged with one another. In California, you can pre-register to vote at the age of 16. But the majority of those children that are pre-registered to vote don't look like me. Don't look like you. Because so many in our communities are just trying to live and survive every day. I'm really touched by the mothers in the room. Not that fathers are dismissed, because we have a father in the room that we oftentimes don't see. This is a fight that we see the women and the mothers. But before I introduce this father, I want to say to the mothers in the room, I too am a mother. My son is currently serving 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for a triple homicide that he did not commit. He fell victim to California's felony murder law. Felony murder is something across this country that is problematic, including right here in the state of Alabama. Did you know that with felony murder, I could borrow your car, I could go to the grocery store or the convenience store. I have no intention of killing anyone, but I go in with my gun, I scare the cashier, it discharges, and I accidentally kill him. I get back in the car and I drive off, I drop your car off to you. And they come and they arrest you. And they charge you with first-degree murder as if you were in fact the shooter. Do you know that we have people in this country right now that are sitting inside of prisons that we don't know if they're ever gonna come home or not, that are innocent? Did you know that we have law enforcement officers in this country that can shoot and kill, that can shoot and kill someone during the commission of a crime and charge someone else with the murder that the law enforcement officer committed. That's very real.
It's happening.
So when we talk about innocent lives, when we hear there's more innocent people in prison than you could imagine, people don't want to believe that because this has been so criminalized, it has been dehumanized. Take a look around the walls and you will see. We are not that far from slavery.
Indeed.
We are standing on stolen land. We are having a genocide of proportion that is uncomprehendable. It's time. When something's going down in Chicago, we need to show up.
Amen.
When something's going down in Louisiana, we need to show up. When it's going down in Virginia, Mississippi, wherever it may be, we are putting the country on notice. We will not stand by anymore and allow these laws to remain on the books, to allow our children to continue to be executed, and to allow ourselves to continue to be divided. With that, I would like to introduce to you Jacob Blake Sr.
Right on. Right on.
I'm sitting next to a young lady whose son was charged with murder that he did not commit. And Keith Smith is behind bars right now here in Alabama for a murder a police officer committed. Something's wrong, Alabama. No. Something's wrong, United States of America.
Yes, yes.
No. Something's broken in this corrupt ass system.
Speak.
Amen.
No. I'm black and I'm proud.
Yes.
No, wait a minute. I didn't say I'm black and I want to kill white folks. I said I'm black and I'm proud.
Right.
And if that's a crime, kiss my black ass.
Hello.
History lesson. When I was sitting in this room, as I walked in this building, sister asked me, was I okay? Showing true concern for me. No, sister, I wasn't sleepy. I was channeling my pap, my father. You understand? My pops. Right? 58 years ago, my father got his behind whooped on that Hampton Pettis Bridge. They sick dogs on my daddy, man. Then, no fear in his heart, he came back and walked from Selma to Montgomery with no fear, man. He would call home every night. You know, I didn't know if I was ever gonna see my dad again, but you know what? He ain't making it. He made me ready for this fight. He's the grandfather of Jacob Blake Jr. When I watched 7 bullets go into my son's back, not knowing when I got to Milwaukee will my son be alive, I cannot tell you the torment in that 14 hours. But I can tell you that a unified fight, a unified front, we don't worry about who's coming from the back. See, because I'm my brother's keeper. You understand?
Yes.
I understand the importance of being here in Alabama, right? I understand the importance of standing up together, collectively telling these racist people, see, because I'm from a state where they lied from the beginning. Land of Lincoln, all Lincoln did was make slavery okay in the North.
Tell them.
That's all he did. Incarceration. Free slavery. It's okay. It's okay when you're in jail. It's okay. And as that sister stood up and talked about the coal mines in West Virginia, as I think back to our farm in Beckley, driving up 77 and witnessing the dust clouds pass across the highway and knowing that the blacks that were found hurt in the mine were left. At the bottom of those mines, they were left. They did not come home. I know what happens from Beckley to Portsmouth. I smell the dust. I smell the coal I smell the coal when I drive through on my way to Chicago or to my sister's house in Louisville. I've seen racism from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic, from the Gulf of New Mexico to the border of Canada. If we do not decide that this system is broken, then it's like driving a jalopy. You just drive it. But if we decide to overhaul that jalopy, we're going to get a new engine, we're going to put a brand new transmission in there, we're going to buy some Uniroyal white walls and throw them on there with some spinners and trues. And we're going to ride this brand new 98 with them big heavy 4 doors on them.
We ride.
We're going to have some Pioneer 6x9s in that joker and a Jensen radio, and we're going to play anything we want.
Good analogy. Right
But
on.
we can do that unified. But standing alone, fighting alone in the cold when you feel like no one is there for you. See, there ain't nowhere I won't go. I'm not scared to die. I'm not scared to put my life on the line every time I leave my home. I haven't seen my home in 3 weeks for maybe 48 hours. But when you choose to fight for humanity,
So you're right.
you fight for your own life.
So you're right.
You fight for breath. You fight for that other person's breath because you're worried about your brother. You're worried about your sister. You want to see them okay.
So you're right.
But if you continue to go home and pick up your remote control and pop your popcorn and eat your hamburgers and care not about your brother, then that's up to you. But what we do in this room is family. I don't see you any other way. Jamila is my sister. When I first met her, I met her on a Zoom call. I said, little sis, I'll be out there to California. I'm coming to see you. I couldn't wait to see him when he got home. I hugged that brother like I knew that brother my whole life. Take it upon yourself. Don't ask for someone else to give you something that you possess. Take it out dig down deep. Have no fear. And get out there and give it to somebody else. Don't hold on to it. Don't hoard it. Give it to somebody else. Wrap it up in a present and give it to somebody else. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I'm sorry, y'all. That was on me.
Truth to power.
It was on me to say them words. I'm gonna bring up my little brother Cortez, right?
So you're right.
Oh man, I love y'all.
Love you too,
Understand,
brother.
I love you all.
We love you.
I'm not here. I don't even know what the hell I just said.
We got you, brother.
You understand?
Everything we need
But
in
I
here.
Real talk.
truly love this room. Thank you, y'all.
Love you, brother. Right
Love
on.
you.
So you're right. Right on. Right on. Right on.
Yes.
Right on.
All right, when I say all power to the people, y'all say free them all. All power to the people.
Free 'em all.
All power to the people.
Free 'em all.
All power to the people.
Free 'em all.
Peace and blessings. I'm Cortez, right? A civil rights activist from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Like Bianca Austin said, the Honorable Breonna Taylor, it actually gives me chills to be in this building right now. I'm honored to stand in solidarity with the family, the people, the community, my other brothers and sisters that's out here actually doing this work. But again, this ain't just particularly about me, even though I was as well as a political prisoner. When I was a political prisoner, my son was actually murdered February 1st, 2022, which was the 297th United States school shooting in Richfield, Minnesota. And the reason why I was being held hostage as a political prisoner was because I went and peacefully protested at a judge house, demanding cameras in the courtroom for the Kim Potter trial, justice for Dante Wright. I just wanted to mention, though, mass incarceration is eye to eye, equal, level face, level eyed with police brutality, gun violence, and racism. It's all wrapped in one. It's all wrapped in one. These names that I want to share, some of the names, like the Hardale Sherrill Act. Brother Hardale Sherrill was murdered in a prison. And I had the opportunity to stand with his mother, Del Cheryl Perry, who actually enforced and demanded accountability for her son. Another name, Mumia Abu Jamal, who was a political prisoner. I don't know if you guys know about the MOVE Act. The MOVE. This is what's been happening across the nation for years and years and decades and decades. It is up to us. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. And we must continue to uphold and uplift one another, continue to spread love and not hate, and make sure that we get our brothers up out of this system. Another name, Julius Jones, who's being held right now, still to this day, in prison. We did national demonstrations across the country, demanding that just so he won't be on death row, trying to get this brother exonerated. Another name I want to mention.
You take your time, bro.
Castillo Bond.
Free 'em
I
all.
don't know if y'all been seeing this, but this happened right here in y'all backyard in Alabama. This brother has been wrongfully disregarded and disrespected, body laying lifelessly in this prison. The medical team, the warden, the city, the state is not doing what they're supposed to do. But when we put fire to their heels, they end up moving. So I just want to say for the mothers, the families, the brothers and sisters, the uncles, the aunties, do not give up.
Right on.
Continue to fight,
Right.
continue to share your story, because somebody's listening. Somebody out there is listening, and you are making an impact out there for someone, somewhere special.
So you're right.
We must continue to uplift our loved ones' names. My son's name was Jamari Rice. He was 15 years old.
Long live.
15 years old. And as we out here down south right now, standing in solidarity with these families who's been victimized, we didn't ask for this. Nobody asked for this right here. And now we have to go to Gulfport, Mississippi, to stand in solidarity with Jaheim McMillan family, who was murdered in front of the Family Dollar with his hands up. 15-year-old, gunned down by Gulfport Police Department.
Shot in the back of the head, y'all.
Like I said, police brutality, mass incarceration, gun violence, and racism is all wrapped in one. If we don't stand up and fight back right now, we will lose. It is our duty to fight. It is our duty to win. And we must love one another and support one another and uplift one another. Again, I am honored to be here amongst my great brothers and sisters, my beautiful brothers and sisters out here. We must continue to fight, keep up the good fight, the good struggle.
Right.
The fight must continue. The revolution must continue. And again, all power to the people.
Free them all.
All power to the people.
Free them all.
All power to the people.
Free them all.
Blessings.
Right on. Right on.
So I wanna piggyback off something the brother said. And, I wanna be very clear as to what it is he just described. This is not police brutality. This is police criminality. Okay? Law enforcement in this country is constantly violating our civil rights. They're constantly engaging in illegal criminal behavior, and they're never held accountable. I want to introduce my brother Stephen from Edify. I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit about Edify and the work that we do there.
Right on.
What's happening, everybody? First of all, it's such an honor. It's surreal to be here in a space where so many folks are fighting with strength that I'll never know, that folks like me by design are not supposed to pay attention to or validate. Sorry, I get all types of emotion. My name is Stephen. I am a co-founder and director of development at Edify. Some special has happened in that Edify. As Jacob Blake Sr. mentioned, a man named Jacob Blake was shot by the Kenosha police from 3 of his children, 7 shots. It was a series of perpetual names, ongoing state-sanctioned murders of Black, brown, and poor folks. But something a little different, 2 things a little different happened with Jacob Blake's case. The first thing is, by the grace of God, by the grace of whatever you believe in, Jacob survived. Here for a damn reason. Here for a damn reason, for a higher purpose. And the second unique thing, certainly unique in racial and labor history, the men and women of the NBA and WNBA stood in solidarity with this and said no more. It was arguably the most historic labor stoppage. They tried to call it a boycott. This was a strike. They said no more black bodies, profiting billions of dollars of broadcast while this shit is happening in our backyards. It was the summer of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, so many others every year. For whatever reason, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Now what's interesting here is that the strike started with the Milwaukee Bucks. And Kenosha is easily the closest metro area, Milwaukee's the closest metro area to Kenosha. So this was Black men saying, somebody in our neighborhood that we represent, that we play for across the chest, we have to do something about this. So what Edify does is we connect athletes NBA, NFL, college, whatever it may be, WNBA. All of these folks who have achieved at the highest levels. Because let's face it, in the way that America's set up by design, folks don't know their state assembly person or their DA. Folks aren't gonna learn about the laws on the books that are perpetuating all of these evils, all of these criminalities under our nose. But what's wild is that we all know damn near every 53 players on our NFL team. We know all the players who wear the cities across the chest and succeed at the highest level. And what if we use that power for something greater?
Yes.
Right? I'm an abolitionist. I believe that Chairman Fred said free them all.
Come on.
But here's the thing, right? Not everybody is gonna everyone who looks like me is gonna immediately dig that messaging right away. We have a war to win. This is a war as folks who are living it and bleeding it and told me, fighting it. This is a war. So we gotta fight with whatever tactics are available to us. The NBA, an NBA player tweets something out about a tragedy in their backyard, in a forthcoming law, a mutual aid movement in their neighborhood. It's going to move the needle in ways that I can't even describe to you. There are folks, everyone in this damn room, there are folks who fight every day. If the biggest athlete, or just not even the biggest, if one athlete who proudly represents that city on the back amplified your work, how much farther would your work be? Right? Those are the all-stars at this level. We need to, elevate our community all-stars. Jake is here for a reason. I talked to Jake. I know other people in this room talk to Jake. You can't not believe in something higher and a greater purpose for this one to talk to.
Yeah.
Who fights every day to stand up, to be with his kids, to live and think, and be the man that he wants to be. And so we've organized some stuff. We took an NFL player who was playing for the LA Chargers, turned it into a brake light check, just like the Black Panthers used to do. LAPD, the most murderous police force in the country, with an annual operating budget of $3 billion. It's a whole other story. They're murdering black, brown, and poor folks over faulty taillights. We took the time-honored system, plugged in an NFL player, and got some real results. Changing folks' taillights, giving out bags of groceries, saying that, hey, I play for the LA Chargers, I play for my city, but I play for you too. And that we're all in this fight together, that my success is your success too. And here we are now. And that's why Edify is imploring Alabama athletes. We are in what might be the richest football producing state in the country. The Alabama Crimson Tide is my first time in Alabama. My understanding, Auburn and Alabama run this state. Can you imagine the power of even one of those men or women stood up in their locker room and said, look what is happening in our state to people who statistically we know we look like. Imagine the power. Imagine the power that would be created. Imagine if players at the NFL and the NBA who came from these situations, designed to fail, institutionalized poverty, the only way out was to play ball, and by divine fucking power, they did it. And imagine the power if they were able to then plug in the most vulnerable folks around us, who look like them, who have that same city across the chest, but are never gonna get recognized by the American populace. It's just not how we get there. Team Edify is imploring athletes associated with Alabama, or athletes who have a heart and a message and a platform. We've seen, it's the 35th birthday of Colin Kaepernick, by the way. Happy birthday, Colin Kaepernick. We've seen that these men and women will stand on stuff. We've seen what the Atlanta Dream did. They organized against Kelly Loeffler next door in Georgia. They got her out of the Senate. We've seen the power, the cultural capital these folks have. We implore them to tap in with us, tap in with the people in this room. Not hard to find. We'll make ourselves available and see what we can do. Amplify this message. Stand with the incarcerated peoples of Alabama. 89% parole denial in 2022. Unconscionable. We get some eyes on it. If we know those stats the same way we know 50 home runs, 20 touchdowns, whatever, man, will we be in a cool place. Thank you all for sharing this space. I'm humbled. I won't be able to fully articulate what this all means to me, but I fight for everyone here, and we know, from John Carlos to Colin Kaepernick to this moment right now, man, there's a lot of power here. Let's use it.
Right on. Right on. Come on. Right on.
Pass the baton here.
Running with the baton, running with the baton.
Thank you. No, you're great. Thank you.
Right on.
Okay. So, next, I am going to bring up Cylinder. Linda has come all the way from New Mexico. And we are getting close to closing. We have 2 more speakers, but when we close, we are going to dim the light and play a short film for you all, and we will be closing out. This Linda has come all the way from New Mexico. This here is by far one of the most extreme international activists I've known. When I tell you this sister fought to bring her husband home, I've never seen anything like it before.
And did it.
And I mean literally from the Ukraine to Arab. She had people standing everywhere in this country with signs fighting to bring her husband home. And so Linda is my international sister.
Right on. Right on.
I'm here in a room full of revolutionaries. I am beyond myself. And I wanna talk about, we've talked a lot about what this thing is, right? But I want us to acknowledge capitalism as the virus, as the illness that drives this. I'm an Afro-Latina indigenous woman, and where we come from, we talk about something called huerico. Huerico is a mental illness. And I'll tell you a quick story because we're storytellers. All of the tribe was succeeding, and there was a best hunter. And the best hunter would go out and he would do all the kills, and he came back with a big ego and he said, I do all the kills, why are these sick and children and these people are feasting off of my kills, and I did all the work. So he got greedy and he went and built a home at the top of the mountain where the rest of the tribe could not go. And while he was up there, he continued to be the best hunter. He hoarded all the food. And people started to die because there was not enough for all of the tribe that was left behind. It killed all of the tribe. And as he sat in the rot of all of the food that he could not even consume, he too perished. Because this illness that is capitalism, that is huerico, it is an illness. And it will consume everything until it consumes its own self, and that is what we are seeing happening to Mother Earth. And that is the monster that we are fighting. That is what persists slavery of our people. We have to acknowledge the driving force, that illness of hoarding that is huerico, and we have to hold accountable. There should be no society that has billionaires who are trying to colonize space. If that is not sounding the alarms for folks, I don't know what will. I want to talk about the evolution of these systems. We've talked about that. Plantations have not gone away. They've only become modernized. They still exist. Policing is only modern-day slave catching. These structures did not go away. They became more sophisticated. And they will continue to become more sophisticated. We have to, in the words of Eric Brown, one of my comrades, one of my chosen family, who fought his way out of Louisiana prisons from 16 years old and got freed recently. He said, we cannot just cut the tops. We have to pull it from its root. And that is what we talk about as abolitionists. That is what we are talking about. Our communities don't call the police. We don't use them. That's not real. They have never served and protected anybody in our communities.
All right.
We don't use them. We use each other. We build strength in our own people, and we ride for each other.
Yeah.
When I'm in need, I call my neighbors, my comrades. That's who we call. So this can be abolished. It does not function for us. The only role of policing in this society is to protect the wealthy and their resources.
Yeah. Come on.
That is it. And they have evolved into slave catchers. I want to talk about a case that happened in New Mexico recently, this summer in July, where somebody who was on a parole retake because he is state property was being hunted by the feds. He had his little homie with him who was 15 years old named Brett Rosenau. And they hid in a community member's home as they were being hunted and went into a standoff with tremendous force of policing came. And the warrant that they secured merely said, the judge signed this warrant, if this does not substantiate this, right? The warrant said they needed permission to go to this house to collect their property, Keontae Kelly, and put just his name on there. It was their property. And they showed up with tanks. And they had an all-day standoff, and they shot flash bombs and war weapons into this house until they lit a fire of this house. And this boy died, 15 years old, who was just a bystander riding with his big homie. And he was burnt up in this house. Brett Rosenau. Just a month later, Keyshawn Thomas was shot over 20 times because he was sleeping in his car in Albuquerque because he could not drive. Albuquerque, New Mexico, which a lot of people do not know about, has been under the DOJ's oversight for over 10 years because we have one of the most killer police forces in all of the country. We are second still after 10 years of reform. If that doesn't tell you this cannot be reformed, I don't know what will. It must be done away with. We must take that money and put it into our communities because that is where safety comes from. I also want to raise the name of Vicente Viela. He was in the county jail in Albuquerque, New Mexico, 1 year before George Floyd was murdered. And he was murdered in the very same holds by correctional officers as George Floyd, screaming, "I can't breathe." The corrections department told the family that he had committed suicide. They didn't even know what happened. They had already buried him before a whistleblower reached out to us to tell us that it was a homicide, and we were able to organize. And the Attorney General, in a political ploy, picks up a case to try to prosecute these killer COs. We just finished the trial a month ago. This structure is not here for justice for us. They were all acquitted. It was a joke. We know that this is not for us. It never was. That is not where justice comes from. In 2020, during the uprisings, we were stopped by Homeland Security, by the feds. There's a lot of media out. I don't know, Albuquerque was on the list with Philadelphia, with a lot of the other big cities. And our family, my family, was stopped by the feds. We were leading the Free 'em All campaign, and we had been going out every Friday the whole pandemic and holding actions at state facilities demanding the freeing of our people because we were in a global pandemic and we knew our people were not safe. And they put out Homeland Security notices about us under Free 'em All. I got shot with the rubber bullet during those uprisings, and the very next day my husband was taken on a parole retake and became a political prisoner. And we had to lead a campaign to get him freed as well. He's been home for just under 2 years now. Free Clifton White campaign was successful, but it proved and showed the power of the people. I stood in the middle of a governmental structure and called the governor of New Mexico a plantation owner and told her she needed to free my husband. But this is not just a United States issue. These tentacles of supremacy and imperialism and the illness of capitalism extends across borders that are not real. And we see this happen to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. We see what is happening in Palestine every day. They are using the same weapons, the same state violence they're practicing there, they're using here. And Palestine is nothing more than an open air, largest prison in the entire world.
The world.
I want to uplift the prisoner demands of 2018. I started working with the Free Alabama movement in around 2016, 2017, and Decarcerate Louisiana around that time. And we started to organize and prepare for the prison strike, and I'm so proud and honored to have done work with Kelvin Coleman. I want to say his name because from behind the walls of Angola, he has found all of y'all. I know many of you have got to talk to Casino because he is a mighty, mighty organizer. If you didn't know, he recently was retaliated against and he was taken out of Angola with 100 other prisoners who were outspoken and organizing, and they have locked them down in David Wade now. So he has no more resources to organize because his lawsuit was moving forward. But I do want to say the demands one more time because they have not yet been met.
I know that's right.
Number one, immediate improvements to the conditions of prisons and prison policies that recognize the humanity of imprisoned men and women. Number two, an immediate end to prison slavery. All persons imprisoned in any place of detention under United States jurisdiction must be paid the prevailing wage of their state or territory for their labor. Number three, the Prison Litigation Reform Act must be rescinded, allowing imprisoned humans a proper channel to address grievances and violations of their rights. Number four, the Truth in Sentencing Act and Sentencing Reform Act must be rescinded so that the imprisoned humans have a possibility of rehabilitation and parole. No human shall be sentenced to death by incarceration or serve any sentence without the possibility of parole. Number five, an immediate end to the racial overcharging, over sentencing, and parole denials of Black and brown humans. Black humans shall no longer be denied parole because the victim of the crime was white, which is a particular problem in southern states.
Amen.
Number six, an immediate end to racist gang enhancement laws targeting Black and brown humans. Number seven, no imprisoned human shall be denied access to rehabilitation programs at their place of detention because of their label as a violent offender. Number eight, state prisons must be funded specifically to offer more rehabilitation services. Number nine, Pell Grants must be reinstated in all U.S. states and territories. And number 10, the voting rights of all confined citizens serving prison sentences, pretrial detainees, and so-called ex-felons must be counted.
Yes.
Representation is demanded and all voices count.
How you gonna say?
This is not just an issue of people who were born in this country. But right now in New Mexico, there is a hunger strike happening in Torrance and Cibola detention centers. I do work around immigrant detention as well, and we just did a phone zap to try to save Orlando de Santos Evangelista, who started and organized a hunger strike because prisoners were literally committing suicide because of the conditions that they are experiencing. In these immigration detention centers, they are stung with cow proddles. It is inhumane, the conditions that they are experiencing. As of last Thursday, in retaliation for this organizing effort, Orlando was expeditiously deported back to a country where he is not safe. This stuff is by design, y'all.
That's right.
I also want to lift up the interpersonal violence that we see in our communities. Lifting up all the names of all of our young people who have been killed. Devin and I continue to have this conversation. This stuff is not normal to our communities. This is not normal to our people. It is horrific that a young person's mortality rate can be defined by their zip code that they are born in. And regardless of them going out and finding wealth or fame, they still are subjected to this same mortality rate. It is by design. From the history on this continent of enslavement and genocide, to Jim Crow law, to non-unanimous juries, and the mass colonization over generations that has created the mass enslavement of our minds. You see, we're enslaved here in our people, where our youth see these modern day plantations as a rite of passage. I talk to so many youth who think that They have to go to Angola. They're gonna go there. But we have answers because we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and the generations of revolutionaries before us who showed us the way. From Justice Ubuntu, from healing circles to sweat lodges, to mutual aid, to cop watch, to restorative and transformative justice, we have answers. And we are a mighty people, and we can accomplish this. And we cannot just cut, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Take your time.
I want to talk about my indigenous tradition, because what we know is that the earth gives us everything that we need to survive, and that these conditions are not natural. And we know that when we free the land, we free the people. And we have to dismantle these imaginary borders, and we have to build that solidarity across the world. It is imperative for our survival. I also want to lift up that somebody talked about how we didn't choose to be here, to do this, to be on the front lines, to be shot, to be political prisoners. We did not choose to lose our loved ones. For this revolutionary spirit, it chooses you.
Indeed.
Everybody in this room holds on to that, and that is what unites us. And that is why we are powerful. And they cannot ever take that away from us.
Indeed.
And that is why we are not afraid.
So you right.
Malcolm X told us that we cannot have a revolution with the sleeping people. We must first wake them up. And that is what you all are doing here today. And I am so honored to be in this room with you. We continue to exist in our courage and to lead with the profound love of our people. Because we know that nobody's free until everybody is free.
Indeed.
Free 'em all.
Free them all.
Free 'em all.
Free them all. Right on, right on. Free them all.
So I think listening to everybody here, we are well aware that our suffering is universal, right? No matter where we are in this country, everybody's story is the same. It's just different faces, different places, but it's all the same, you guys. It's all the same. And the thing about what we're doing here, and the reason why Harriet was able to free the people, while the civil rights movement was able to move forward, is because people unified as one body. I can't express enough how we have to put our resources together. And if it means we have to, like today, we're going to go down to Mississippi. We came here to Alabama. We're going to need y'all in Ohio.
Indeed.
Shameless plug, I have to say this really fast. Right now, Senate Bill 288, you know what that says? We have an omnibus bill, 1,785 pages that just dropped this year. Senate Bill 288 says that anyone holding correctional officer title will be able to become a peace officer. And with that peace officer status, they will be able to carry firearms in our facilities. Right now, the only people that are able to carry firearms if you're transporting or if you're in a gun tower. But if you hold that correctional officer status, which this is already passed in our House through lame duck season last year, and we didn't even know it. It's on the Senate floor right now. People follow Ohio for whatever reason they do. If it happens in Ohio, it's going to happen in Alabama, it's going to happen in California, it's going to happen in New Mexico. It's only going to take one. One, y'all. That's dangerous. It's dangerous for all of us. They're already killing us in the street. They're killing us in the prisons. But what happens when they start gunning us down in a very controlled environment where they're already getting away with stomping our heads in, poison us in our food?
Modern day lynching.
Modern day lynching. We have to come together as a people, black, white, brown, or whatever. This is a revolution that is being birthed in this room. It is a revolution that is being birthed in this generation. This feels different, and I've been saying that for the last couple of months. It feels different. It feels right. The window of opportunity is open right now, and we cannot miss this.
Indeed.
Because if we lay down and we don't move and operate in this time frame, we're going to miss it. Do we have another 150, 400 years to wait?
No, ma'am.
We don't. We don't. We don't have another life to lose. We don't. So I'm going to bring up this sister. I'm going to give her a chance to speak. And then we are going to close out with a video. But I just want to leave you all with one thing. I want you all to walk away from today's experience and not let it be another experience. Walk away from today feeling like you want to do more. Even if you're tired, even if you're frustrated, even if you feel like nothing's changing. Obviously it is, because y'all done brought me up here from Ohio twice in the last 3 weeks. Walk away from this experience wanting to do more. Get contacts of everybody in this room. Even if you have to call and ask, have you ate today? Because that substance, what are you doing to sustain your mental, your physical? That is needed in this fight, you guys. They put their resources together to dehumanize our people. They put their resources together to break down our communities. We have to put our resources together to fight this fight. And that's the only way it's going to happen if we do it together. Period. You let down your egos. It ain't about an organization. It's not about who's doing more, who's done it for so long. Listen, it's about saving lives and saving humanity.
Period.
Saving humanity.
Period.
That's it. 12 young boys in DYS in Ohio overthrew the facility. They were being raped, they were being beaten, and they couldn't take it no more. We're calling it the DYS 12. Look it up. You know, right now they got $500,000 bonds on each one of them's head. Bounties. Because of trauma and harm that was done to them. We cannot stand by and let this happen anymore. First it was our men, then it was our women, now it's our babies. How much more are we going to sit back and allow to continue to happen? Because people only do what you allow. And until we come to a unified front, we're going to continue to allow it. I don't want to say no more names. I want to see these babies go to college. I want to see these babies become doctors and lawyers and do things that they don't think that is within their reach, because it is. I want to change the narrative for our sons and our daughters. I don't want to have the talk with my son and my daughter every time they go out to drive. I don't want to feel that in my gut.
That's right.
If they can't walk out that door, and I don't know if they're going to come back because of the way they look, because their skin is a little bit more melanated than the next one. If we live in the land of the free, we're going to take it back because it was ours to begin with. Let's be real. So I'm gonna bring up this sister because I can keep going, because I like this the spirit in this room and just being in this place it's beyond surreal. It's beyond surreal, and the energy, absorb it, y'all, and take it back, build it, come back together. We gotta just continue to be resilient in this fight. Be resilient and bounce back. You know, don't let this be the end that we support Alabama or any other place. Let's build this thing together. Where'd she come from?
Right on. Right on.
Everybody, I'm not much of a talker. I'm nobody say that we can last, but I just wanted to come and stand in solidarity with you guys. I'm not an activist. I'm a hurt wife, a hurt mother, a hurt daughter, sister. In my community, we be on the losing end, almost from hurt, especially our black men. My husband really didn't have a chance in Chicago. He was prey. And I'm not talking about prey as in P-R-A-Y, P-R-E-Y. The Chicago police made a vow to get him, and they also told him that if we can't get you, we'll make sure you do life in jail. But instead, he didn't do life. They gave him a sentence of death. They murdered him. And I empathize, sympathize with you. But one thing I do wanna say is that when people say it's not a black or white issue, it really is a black issue, because we don't have a chance. You know, when other races have their sons, they're so happy, they think about preparing what college they're gonna, they start college funds, what college they're gonna go to. But in my community, when I looked at my grandson, when I looked at my son, I was so happy, because, you know, a son for a mother is like everything, you know? But when I looked at my son, because I had already at that time lost my father, I had lost my older brother, I was so happy to see his chocolate skin, but I was so sad at the same time, because all I wanted him to do was to live. And I prayed to God. College wasn't the first thing I thought about when I saw him or my grandson. It was, God, please just let him live. That's all I wanted, and that's all I still want. I can't do my husband's life is over with in this world. I can't do anything else for him but fight for justice. But I'm standing here for all the men and women that's held captive. That's why my shirt, I have shirts that say justice for Nick. But this time when I came to Alabama, I want the one that says, I wore the one that says fighting for them all. Because I'm fighting with you all. And I need you, we need you. And as my beautiful sister said, this is not by design, you all. It's not that they're dying in Illinois, they're dying in Alabama, they're dying in California, Louisiana. The elected officials don't care, it's slavery. And something that you said touched me and made the realization that what me and these beautiful people was just talking about this morning, I just realized that my husband was really a slave. Because guess what? When he died, my signature alone didn't mean nothing. It didn't move him to the morgue. I had to wait for Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart to sign him away. And I just realized today, listening to you, that's who owned my husband. I didn't, because I signed immediately. So, guys, we need you. Please don't let this be a one-time thing, because we can prove and show that this is happening in every state. So that shows that it's not coincidental. We have to do something, or else it's gonna be so many more your sons, so many more my husbands. And guess what? Not only, like my queen said, not only behind the walls, they're gonna organize. They're gonna organize out here with the police. Qualified immunity is the biggest demon in the world to me. Because it arrogantly gives them to say, go ahead, kill him, he'll be okay. And the last thing I wanna say is, let me tell you what I'm guilty of. When I sit here and I see Mr. Blake, I see Bianca's aunt, I see you, Mr. Rice, and I have been in several protests with you guys. I see chairman. Let me tell you what I'm guilty of. It took for something to happen to me for me to get up and stand. I watched on the news with my mother, Rodney King getting beat. And guess what? I knew it was wrong. And I said, oh, that is horrible, Mama. Do you see it? But had I did something, maybe it wouldn't have been a Breonna Taylor or a George Floyd. It might not have. So please, like I tell everybody, please help us spread the word. Please, because see, I can't do anything to save my husband, but I want my 7-year-old grandson to live. He deserves that. He deserves that right. And the children, they raised knowing that the police is not right. It's the last thing I'm gonna say, because I taught, and we had, in my day, the police used to come to the daycare center to your classroom and give you these wonderful little badges. And we used to be so excited. The police came into the daycare center that I was working at. I promise you, they all ran to me and they were crying. They were scared. They know. So if the babies know, if it's coming through the mouths of babes, guys, it's evident. The police don't care. The system don't care. They're killing us and they don't care. So please, I need you. I'm standing with Alabama. I'm standing with every state, because what happened to me, I don't want to see it happen to another family. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Right on.
Can we do one more thing really quick before we end this? If we could go around the room and somebody could say one name, and then we all say their name. So I wanna say a name. I wanna say Keith Lamar. Keith Lamar is facing execution next November in Ohio. And there is a huge campaign to stop
Indeed.
So I wanna say, keep Lamar.
Keep Lamar.
Lamar.
I'm gonna lift up the name of my nephew, Antrell Garnigan, who was ran down by a trooper in South Carolina. Antrell Garnigan.
I want to lift up the name of my husband who's been incarcerated in Alabama for 17 years at the age of 17. He has been in the hellhole living since he was a child. You know, statistics prove that a man does not develop fully
25.
until the age of 25.
Right.
However, they charge our young men as adults. So they're able to
Not get
be
a copy.
men in the eyes of the law, but if it's anything else that they're trying to achieve, they don't consider them as fully grown men. So I want to lift my husband up, knowing that he will succeed, he will survive, and he will be somebody. His name is Cortez Caldwell.
Cortez Caldwell.
I want to lift the name of Jaquise Lewis, who is New Mexico's Trayvon Martin, who was murdered by a white vigilante who was working as a federal CI at the time at Albuquerque Skate Park in 2016. Jaquise Lewis was 5 feet tall and 100 pounds when he was shot in the back and murdered at the skate park. Jaquise Lewis.
Jaquise Lewis.
Rattle them off, it doesn't have to be
We'll just one, we'll say.
Free them all.
Free 'em all.
Let's go with Marvin Haynes. He's looking at he's in prison right now, and his sister and his family is fighting to get him out of prison on a life sentence. Marvin Haynes.
Marvin Haynes. Sir.
Edit.
Yes, I want to say her son named Stephen Davis. I had came to a prison reform meeting up here in Montgomery. Is where I had met a particular person who was conducting a documentary on Alabama prison, and she was asking me about, are there any names that I would like to throw in the hat about officers who are, corrupt? And I gave her a list of officers, but the first one I gave her, so later that night, she called me like, hey, the name you gave me, he just murdered an inmate, and it just happened to be her son. So, I just want to amplify that name, Stephen Davis.
Stephen Davis.
I'm gonna lift up my son named Lakeith Smith. Lakeith was 15 years old when he was charged with the murder of his friend who was murdered by a police officer. Lakeith later got sentenced to 65 years. So my son has been incarcerated from 15 to 23, and he's currently incarcerated. He's currently in he's a security 5 prison, a maximum prison, one of the dangerous prisons here in Alabama. So I'm gonna lift my son named Lakeith Smith, and we're gonna get him home soon. Lakeith Smith.
Lakeith Smith. Get home soon.
I love you, dude.
Yes.
Get home.
Yes. Mama. It's you.
I don't have no word in particular.
Just say free them all.
Free them all, I love them all.
Free them all.
We love them all.
I would like to, lift my husband's name up, Kyle Forbat, because if it wasn't for everything, he actually wrote me a letter that I just read before I came here, that God put me and him on a path, that I met him while he was incarcerated, and then it took him getting stabbed for a lot to change and get us on this path. So I wouldn't be where I'm at, I wouldn't know everybody here if it wasn't for all of that, so I wanna lift up Kyle Forbat.
Kyle Forbat.
Get over it.
You come up here.
Me? Our people have been dying for a lot longer than there's been social media and hashtags. And the reason that I'm here today, what put me on this path was the murder of Lawrence Myers in 1995. 16-year-old boy shot face down on the ground in the back of his head by a white rookie police officer. He's the reason I'm here right now with you today. And I want to lift his name up and his family's name up to know that he will be remembered, and we are gonna get justice for him one day. Lawrence Myers.
Lawrence Myers! I want to lift up the name of my cousin, Majid Cuffey. I just found out a day or two ago that he was beaten in Pennsylvania by the COs, and he's currently on life support. They're about to take him off anytime now.
I know it.
Majid Cuffey.
Majid
Cuffey.
There's a man named Edric Brown in California prisons who is, served over 24 years of a life sentence for a crime that nobody was injured or killed or hurt at all. Edric Brown.
Edric Brown. Gonna lift the name of Andres Guardado. Andres was one of the many, many people killed by this is LASD, crucial distinction, in 2020. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is the most well-funded, state-sanctioned gang in America. This is not an exaggeration. Officers looking to join a inter-LASD gang called the Executioners were doing something called Chasing Inc. This is all reported. They had to literally catch a body, and Andres was the boy that they shot. LA will not forget Andres. LASD is full of gangs, actual gangs, murderous gangs. Andres Guardado, free them all.
Andres Guardado, free them all.
I would like to uplift a young man by the name of Chaz Thrillkill. He was a Marine, well, he was actively a Marine, came home to Chicago to visit his mom on Thanksgiving break, saw a young lady getting assaulted, used the tactics that the government showed him how to use, and they gave him a 40-year sentence. So I just want to uplift him, Chaz Thrillkill.
Chaz Thrillkill.
I echo the sentiments of Brother Jacob Blake said. So many names, but so that's when the preface was saying free them all and justice for them all. But just up top of my mind, Gulfport, Mississippi, Jaheim, what's the brother's last name?
Jaheim McMillan.
Jaheim McMillan, young brother, young child murdered from the Family Dollar, Gulfport, Mississippi. Jaheim McMillan.
Jaheim McMillan.
Sorry, I came in late. I want to uplift Adam Toledo out in Chicago, who was shot and killed 13-year-old.
Absolutely.
Adam Toledo.
Great. Oh, of course, I want to uplift my niece Breonna Taylor first and foremost.
Absolutely.
But I also want to lift Xavier, the Hills family. That
that's
mother's
right.
been out there going hard by herself with no support. She finally got a court date for her son. I just want the people in her neighborhood to reach out to her, and justice for all stolen lives who has been taken unjustly from us, and the lives who is unjustly incarcerated. So free them all.
Free them all.
I'm sorry,
So-
I have one more.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tina covered it, but Adante Washington, 16, who was shot and killed by a police officer during a botched burglary.
Adante Washington.
Sorry, y'all. It's so much.
It's so many.
Michael McDaniels. Michael McDaniels was murdered in Ohio's prisons last February. It was all caught on camera. They beat him into a heart attack. The director of the prisons in Ohio did a 45-minute press conference and showed the video, and she said, "We are liable. We are at fault. We did this. His murder is our fault." The prosecutors at the state said, "We don't think that there's any injustice," and the correctional officers did not go to prison. I mean, it doesn't happen. The nurse falsified documents. They know this. She was fired. She got her job back. but I wanna say his name because we are fighting with his family to make sure these officers do not get their jobs back. So say his name, Michael McDaniel.
Michael McDaniel.
I got one more. Can I get one more?
Yes, you just get one more.
I have to uplift my sister, Tanika Shannon. Her son's Fred Cox, who was murdered out Greensboro, North Carolina. His anniversary is actually November 8th. That's coming up. So, she's been doing a lot of work, boots on the ground, to keep her son legacy going, in the honor of Fred Cox. Say his name.
Fred Cox.
And let me just say, the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, I want to lift up Nate Woods and his family. He was executed, even though all of the evidence pointed to him not even being guilty of the crime. He was there and basically complicit, from riding in the car. However, he was not there when the actual crime took place. So I want to uplift and hold Nate Woods, bless his heart, and his family up, and just keep them in our thoughts and prayers because they are still continuing to fight this fight. So if everyone would please lift up Nate Woods.
Nate Woods. Got to throw one more real quick.
Yes, come on.
A family and a loved one that I had the pleasure and continually to stand in solidarity with, Marcella Sinet, who was killed out of Waukegan, Illinois, being a passenger in a vehicle while his girlfriend was driving at the time. So let's say Marcella Sinet.
Marcella Sinet.
That's my cousin.
May I?
Yes.
I don't want to say another name, I just want to take just a quick second to address the speakers here. Does anybody disagree with us that slavery is still legal in the United States?
Modern day slavery.
Let's remember that when we leave here, and we offer solutions, and we talk about what the real problem is, because when you talk about things like mass incarceration, then you're legitimizing the genocide and slavery that is happening. Because if it was truly mass incarceration happened equally across the country, there would be 4 million more white people in prison. That's just not the case. We are dealing with a crime against humanity, and you cannot reform a crime against humanity. If we're gonna say that they're being kidnapped, and we have to give them the, what you call it, brother? We have to give them the
Correct terms, ransom is
the ransom, then these are slavers doing it, slave catchers out here hunting us, and those are overseers in there killing us. Let's get our mind right and change our mind. As one of my mentors said, Gil Scott Heron, the first revolution begins in your mind when you change it.
That's right.
Well, I just wanna say, it's, our day didn't go quite as we had planned, but it went according to God's will and His
That's
plan.
right. Got that right.
Those who were supposed to be here are here.
That's right. Indeed.
It's personal, it's intimate, we're family, and we're holding this space with one another. And just kind of piggyback off my brother Merrick, language is important. And we have to take back our language. It's important. We are not bitches, hoes, niggas, felons, cons,
Speak on it,
inmates,
A number.
We are human beings. We are human beings. We all bleed. We all cry. We all love someone. We are humans first and foremost. We have to undo what has been done to us, so that when I see you, when you see me, when we see one another, we see ourselves. We see our collective shared humanity. You are my brother, you are my sister. You are my brother, you are my brother, you are my sister, you are my sister, you are my brother.
We are kings and queens.
We are kings and queens. And we should always conduct ourselves as such. So with that, we're gonna close out the day before we get ready to go to Mississippi and stand in the gap again until we can dismantle this thing. But we're gonna close out with a film, very short, but I want you to be prepared because history is alive. We are our ancestors' answered prayers. Don't forget that. When you walk out of this building, you take all the collective energy and power that was stored up here today, and you remind yourself that I am my brother and my sister's keeper. Amen. That we must keep one another through hell and high water. I love you all. Ready for it? Okay, so please feel free, grab a seat.
While he's doing that, Devon, let me say this. Devon came down and it was unexpected. He's formerly incarcerated, so he has been through the hell in the Alabama Department of Corrections firsthand. He can tell us what's going on. And I just thank him because every time he's called, he shows up.
Right on.
Every time.
Right on.
We have a lot of people that get out and forget the struggle.
Yeah.
So,
Salute.
my brother, I thank you.
Yes.
Salute.
I love you and I thank you. Welcome home.
Right on. Salute, bro. Make sure you get a contact.
Again,
So we do it if this.
trigger warning. I'm putting the trigger warning out.
Oh, yeah.
Before I start this film, I think I'd be remiss if I did not say on behalf of the Southern Poverty Law Center, we are really glad y'all are here. We hear you, we see you, we stand with you, and the work that we are doing is directly aligned with your organizations. I want to just read real quick our 4 impact goals. All of the work that we do here at the Southern Poverty Law Center focuses on these 4 impact goals. 1, eradicating poverty. 2, decriminalizing and decarcerating Black and brown people. 3, protecting voting rights and civic engagement. And 4, dismantling white nationalism and protecting democracy. If we can't do this, then our system is broken. These are what is wrong. And we at the Southern Poverty Law Center are working as hard as we can. We have policy members working with legislators. We just started a 501c4 to start doing lobbying. We have attorneys working around the clock to help people that are incarcerated to at least have better lives within the system. If we can't eradicate the prison system, then we will one day. It will come. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm gonna start this video for you. It's about 15 minutes, and then I know, 1, y'all are hungry, and 2, y'all need to go on to Gulfport to do more important work, and I don't want to hold you back from doing that. So I'll start this video, and then from here, if you all choose to walk around our museum and look at our exhibits, please do. If y'all wanna get on the road or go get some food, I'm not gonna hold that against you. So thank y'all so much. As a brief reminder, there is no videography or photography allowed while this video is going. So I'm gonna ask y'all to turn your cameras off. That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all, community who joined the press conference today. We're so grateful to you all for tuning in, listening, and learning.